Hello, I'm Sarah Zubiata-Bennett, your host of the Dallas Express podcast. Well, you might not know this about me. I'm a huge football fan. With the countdown to the NFL season underway, I've invited my good friend Nick Folk from the Tennessee Titans to join us for an exclusive interview. And what a better way to enjoy an afternoon of football than with an ice-cold beer. Join us as we visit Nations Brewing to discover a local favorite.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No, of course. It's very rare that I get to interview one of my good friends. You've played across various cities in the United States. Right now you're kicking for the Titans. Can you tell me a little bit about how that's going?
It's great. A little bit about my career. Started here in Dallas. Got drafted in 07.
Yep.
That's I met Jay in 09. And then we went to New Jersey for 7 years, played for the Jets. And then Tampa Bay, had a little break, and then New England for 4, and now Tennessee for 1. So I've been all over the country. It's an exciting time. I'm getting up there. I think last year I was the 4th oldest player in the NFL at the beginning of the season.
Are you serious?
So this year I'll be anxious to see where I'm at the beginning of the season. We'll kind of get a stat on that. But to have the good faith and good fortune of playing for 17 years has been, it's just been a blessing, and I've been super lucky. Tell me,
so oftentimes whenever I see you juggle football, family life, you're commuting back and forth between Dallas and wherever it is you're playing, if you're not clearly local here at Cowboys. Tell me how that works for you mentally, spiritually, physically, kind of the whole.
It's tough, especially at the beginning. Like right now, coming up, these last 2 weeks are probably the hardest weeks because you're getting ready for training camp, which training camp is kind of a grind in of itself. And then I have to leave Jay and the kids. Jay's a rock star. Once I kind of leave, she gets a routine down, and it's very regimented, which I love because I'm very routined in A, my job, but B, my life in general. And the kids fall in line. The kids understand it. They kind of roll with the punches. My kids are at a really good age where they understand what I do and they understand football. They're super into it, which is a lot of fun. It makes it really enjoyable because a lot of times in the NFL, a lot of guys don't have kids who are old enough to understand what they do.
Exactly.
With the short careers that we usually have. So it's fun, it's good, but it's tough, especially right now getting ready to leave. But, we kind of make it work.
I'm just interested. How is it that you grew up playing soccer and then were able to transition over to football?
Growing up, my parents put me in every sport imaginable, except for football. My mom's a pediatrician, family of doctors, no tackle football. Tackle football wasn't a huge thing in Southern California. I played a little bit of flag football, and I just kind of gravitated towards soccer. So, I don't know. I remember the day, I don't remember how old I was, but I looked at my dad for most sports and said, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. And he goes, okay, just finish the season. And so soccer became my jam. I went to a small private Catholic K through 8. Went to a private Catholic high school, Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks, which was 12, 13 miles away from my house. Not super far, but California traffic is California traffic.
Yep.
I knew 3 people going there. 2 girls from my school, and then a buddy who I grew up playing soccer with who actually now lives here in Dallas, Brett Hayes. He's the bullpen coach for the Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
So he was going to play football, so I just went out to play football to meet people. And I went out and I said, I want to be a kicker. So they had set the precedent, though, that kickers could just go to practice at the beginning, kick, and then leave and go to soccer practice. So it was perfect for me in high school. So I would go to kick, I would leave, go to my club soccer practice, go home, do homework, and play on Fridays, and that was it. Actually had more scholarships for soccer than I did football. I think 2 for football, 1 to Arizona, 1 to Portland State. Went on my visit to Arizona. The coach at the time needed to know if I was going to commit because he wanted a kicker in the class. And so I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I'm playing football. And that was it. To this day, I don't know what was going on, but that was just the transition.
And what I find most interesting is that out of most of the boys in our kids' school, most of them play tackle football. My kid, your boys, they don't. But I'm so much more interested in why you do not have your boys playing any type of tackle football.
It's a little 2-part. One, my mom is still very in my kids' lives, even though she's now in Tennessee. She moved from California. But she sees a lot of the data on it and a lot of the, being a pediatrician, a lot of the concussions that would happen from it. In soccer now, growing up, I headed the ball all the time. Now that kids aren't allowed to head the ball in soccer until you get to 11v11, to a full-size field. So there's a little bit more emphasis and understanding about concussions. Second part of that, especially when I was in New York, they'd always have a little not always, a lot of time, a halftime show for the fans. And it was always little kids football, two sides, and they would get as many plays in as they could for these kids. And, it's their biggest stage that they had at the time. And so I'd come out early from halftime to go get warmed up. And you have to kind of make your way around these kids, let them do their thing while still warming up for your job. But you see the biggest kid on the field, not just tackle a kid, but more just take him by the jersey and sling him down. And the helmet to the ground is probably more dangerous at our kids' age than anything else. And I know for a fact that some of these kids hit the ground, they get up, they're woozy, definitely concussed. Coach, get back in there, because they only have 4 minutes on the field. So they're trying to get as many plays, everyone touch the ball, everyone get a run around, make a tackle. So that's probably the biggest reason. We have seen a lot of improvement in the helmet technology in the last handful of years. You see a lot of guys wearing these kind of crazy looking helmets that are supposed to almost like deflect a little bit of the blow.
For younger kids or for?
In the NFL.
In the NFL, exactly.
I don't know.
Not for our kids,
but
I don't think.
You could go buy one.
Fair enough.
And you could go spend the $500 it would cost and feel a little bit safer with it. The NFL does a whole mess of testing on it every year. We get this sheet that has the helmet ratings, and every year there's probably a handful of helmets that just kind of get phased out of the NFL because they're not up to the safety standards that these new ones are up to. The other part, I guess the last part of this, is football is a game that I know for a fact you don't need to play in middle school to be very good at. You can play any other sport. You look at these basketball players who they played college basketball, they make it in the NFL, play a long time. You see guys who play baseball and they end up being really good football players because their hand-eye coordination is good. They understand positioning. They understand, like, when you're getting down to feel the ground ball, that's just almost the same position you go make a tackle in or make a move out of. Soccer, your footwork is just as good. Soccer kids' footwork is just as good as a receiver's who's got to break the line and get off, or a DB who's got to be patient.
That's right.
So you don't have to play at an early age to be a good football player.
Since you're going to be still working in the NFL for a little bit, and Dallas is kind of your home base, what, if anything, keeps you up at night regarding the state of Dallas for not just business, but for the future of the city?
Man, it's tough.
There's a lot.
It's tough partly because I'm gone from the city for half the year, pretty much. And then when you're back, I'm so hyper focused on the kids and Jay, and that you kind of like lose sight of
course,
the bigger picture.
Of course.
But I think one of the things that you could kind of see is the influx of people is great. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a great thing. But can the infrastructure keep up with it? Like I said earlier, I went to school 12 miles from my high school from my house. My school started at 7:45. If I left the house at 6:30, it would take me 15 to 20 minutes. If I left at 6:35, it could take me 45 minutes. Then you got to find parking and all this stuff. So the infrastructure, I think, could be one of the toughest things. And what they did with 635, making the double-decker freeway there, I think has been a blessing for some people.
Yep.
For us, getting to Frisco for soccer is tough. I got to go right to Toro, but everyone's going to Toro at the same time. So luckily enough, right now, keep our fingers crossed, the boys practice a little later, starts at 7. So I can leave a little later, beat the rush hour. But for like a personal thing, I think it'd be the infrastructure with just the amount of people coming in, and can the city handle it? And we were just in Germany, and the public transportation was awesome.
Amazing.
I know. Buses and trains and all kinds of stuff. And I figured out pretty quick, because we had no car in a lot of those places, and I had to get to the boys' soccer practice. And so I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. Quick Google search, how do you do it? And there's an app, and you just put in the train station. It'll tell you when the train leaves, when to go, how long the walk is usually to another train station or to the next train. I think one of the biggest things would just be infrastructure. Can we continue to handle the influx of people, and where are they all going to go?
Yeah, and I mean, my mind is just swirling as you're commenting about this, because as we see, the trend is people are moving to where there's less crime, it's more affordable in the suburbs. And the one way that people could still maintain a really thriving downtown Dallas or easy access wherever you want to go is through our DART system. It has 6% ridership, Nick. 6%. And whenever we did this kind of trip to the zoo, it was Ryan, Shannon, myself, for just one of the second segment episodes, it was not safe.
Okay.
And we were there with Ryan, and he's not a short man. And I thought to myself, dang, I don't feel safe in a group of 3. I mean, you can tell there's crime on there.
Yeah.
And then I just saw a news article today at the Dallas Express that they're going to be raising their prices yet again. So I'm like, okay, is that to make sure that the poor homeless people who have addictions, mental health issues, aren't riding on there? Because there was a lot of that when we were on there. At 6%, I really hope they have a plan. So that's actually on my to-do list of things to go delve into. But I totally went off on a tangent. But I very much appreciate that insight, because it's a freaking problem.
It is.
Crime's going up. Everything's shifting. Is there anything else that you want to tell aspiring college and or professional athletes?
It's a mindset. You have to be willing to sacrifice things you don't want to sacrifice.
That's right.
And then the second part of that is hard work. Our strength coach at Arizona would tell us all the time, because when I was at Arizona, we weren't the most talented team, but it was hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
That's right.
Those two things, I think, if you have a mindset, you want to make it, put it down, write goals on a piece of paper, and live that mindset. The last part of that I would say is it has to be your dream, your goal.
That's right. Thank you so much for being here and for opening up the way you did. I just really appreciate it. Now let's go north on 35 to visit a brewery that's grown significantly since my days in Carrollton. From their wide selection of beers to bingo nights and a welcoming patio for dogs, Nations Brewing is a place that never fails to impress.
So we kind of did beer flavored beers on this one, and that's kind of more like the fun, crazy stuff we have.
Fun, crazy stuff. Okay.
Yeah. That one's our Mexican style lager, so from left to right.
Oh, okay.
Saddle Up's the West Coast IPA, so that one's gonna be more bitter. Beer season here's kind of your Shiner Bock, similar Shiner Bock. And then Haze Wizard, that's our New England style IPA. So that one's not gonna be as bitter as this one, and a little bit, a lot more juicy, where this one's gonna be more like West Coast style, which is more like citrusy, piney, a little bit of dank. And then from your, let's see, Royal Blood here. So blood orange wheat beer right here. This Sucker Punch is a really interesting beer. It tastes almost like a watermelon Jolly Rancher in beer form. We kind of came up with this one during the pandemic in 2020. So it's a really interesting beer. And then Salty Pirate, the one we were talking about. So strawberry lemonade, Gosa. And then this golden stout's incredibly interesting. It's like a marzipan flavor, so you get you get almond and also honey notes on this one. And this one's a little bit sweeter. It's an 8.5%. So most of the beers you have in front of you are anywhere from high 4s to 6%, and then some of the outliers would be this guy and this guy. So that one's 7.5, and that one's like 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do? We just start on this line and then we kind of go down?
I would think so. I would think, honestly, you're going to want to start on this side. And these are going to be some of the more out there beers that'll probably require more sips of water in between. Those you can probably get through without really sipping water if you'd like. So
sit down and talk to us for a little bit.
I will.
I'm like, ooh, that's delicious.
It is good.
That'll be up your alley. That's only about 4.8% alcohol. So it's a Bock. It's got tons of caramel notes, some toasted notes, some biscuit notes.
Yeah.
It's a lager too, so it's not it's not really super fruity.
You come from a family of restaurateurs.
Yeah.
Right? So you guys that's in your blood. I remember when you just started, you were not at this location.
Yeah.
It was a much smaller location. When did you move to this location?
So, so that we started back there, Sarah, in 2015. So I think the first batch we ever brewed was May 29th of 2015. First kegs went out in distribution the third week of June, something like that. And then all of a sudden, 4 years go by and we're kind of running out of space at this place. And oh, by the way, it was in an industrial park, so no one could really find us because by then, tap rooms have become a big thing, and selling beer to the end consumer like you're a bar, like over the bar became a big thing. And so we need to find a spot that was going to be more, centrally located. Downtown area was great, and this one popped up, and my business partner started to come talk to the cities and the powers that be in Carrollton. And then we said, okay, should we take a waiver on this place? It was really just a rundown shack. You can't believe what it looked like when we took it over. And so, yeah, there's an opportunity to move here, and we had all kinds of challenges. I don't get into too much detail, but like what we did here is a lot different from what a lot of other breweries do. What a lot of other breweries do is they'll go take like a huge banknote, go buy new equipment, so that when they move from one facility to the next, it's just ready to go, right? Well, we didn't want to go do that. What we wanted to do is let's plan this accordingly. Let's stop brewing any sort of seasonal beer. So we're gonna come out. We're gonna continue to brew the beers that are always available, so you don't run out. You know something about that. You don't want to lose your shelf space or your tap handle at whatever your favorite bar or restaurant is. So we went down from something like 10 beers all the way down to about 5, and we continue to brew those to build up inventory. And then as we started to empty the tanks, we literally moved them over here in 2 different moves, which was crazy. And then once we actually got all the equipment in here, then it was trying to plumb everything in. We were only down for about 6 weeks, and so we didn't run out of any beer, which is amazing. We're pretty fortunate to be pretty busy here.
I love it.
And then we've also opened a second one up in Anna, north of McKinney. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have one north of McKinney.
It's coming up on a year now too. In September will be a year. So that was the Golden Stout. That was the one that tastes like marzipan. So 8.5% alcohol. The roastiness comes from coffee actually.
Okay, yeah, it's incredible.
And then we use almond and honey malt as well. So you kind of get that, the marzipan we used to eat as a kid. It's like mostly chocolate based.
This is my favorite beer.
Exactly. It's one of my favorites too.
Gavin, it has been so long since I've seen you.
I can't even remember the last time.
Isn't it crazy?
I honestly
I'm
can't.
like, it's been years.
I would say at least 8 would be
For
my
sure.
guess.
I mean, it's been so long.
I mean, I think the last time
this feels
it
delicious.
feels so good in here. Yeah.
I know. I'm like,
And this room's just it'll fill up quickly on the weekends, but like this is perfect for you're in a Liga 8, cool. There's 8 stool or 8 top right there. If not, there's put some 4 tops together. If you got a Liga 12, then put 3 tables together, and there you go.
I love it. And then I've always loved the designs on your cans.
Yeah, it's funny. We actually are just like transitioning from one design to another. It's the second rebrand we've had in 9 years, so we felt like it was time. I'll show you that stuff actually. If we let's go back to that first room.
Let's do it.
When we first started as a brand, we really had a long discussion over are we going to be a brand that focuses on the logo as like the primary identifier of the beer, or we're going to focus on something that's more about like the beer brand, right?
Yeah.
So is it more about Haze Wizard or is it more about Three Nations? Well, when we started, it was more about a little bit of both. It was Three Nations, but also emphasizing the beer, because back in 2015, there were beers like Mosaic IPA, like Revolver's Blood and Honey, Lakewood Temptress. It was like all about that beer, and a lot of people didn't know what brewery made those beers, but it didn't matter because they were selling so many of them, right?
I remember that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as time went on, and there's so much more competition coming in the marketplace, there's breweries are becoming known for more than one beer, and we were known for really good beer, if I'm being honest. And so we're like, okay, we need to kind of take a little bit of what we've done at the start, and then also emphasize the beers that have made us popular. So we got into this this Deep Ellum muralist came in and started designing all of our cans, which is really cool, right? So we're like, okay, let's move to something that's really focused on the brewery Three Nations, because people know the name, and this is where we've landed on with our current branding. So that's the West Coast IPA, the Saddle Up that you've had, and so I'll pull one more of these out here. They're Salty Pirates, so as you can tell, they're really just different colors for different brands, but Three Nations as the prominent focal point on the cans, and that way there's this congruency on the shelf.
Right.
There's 5 or 6 different brands together, then it's like, okay, these are all Three Nations brands, right?